Hello, Mr. Owen. I chose to do my project on the Native Hawaiian culture. I chose this culture because throughout my whole life I've always been asked, Kat, are you Hawaiian? Are you from the islands? Which I really didn't know what that meant before, but now I know it's the Polynesian Islands, which I always found really flattering, seeing as Hawaiians are stereotypically known to be like really chill, laid back, beautiful dancers, really exotic, so I always found it flattering. Well, since moving to Las Vegas, which is ironically known as the ninth island, which is because in the United States, Las Vegas as a whole, just the city, has the largest Hawaiian population other than Hawaii. So the ninth island, I've come across a lot of people who used to live there, who grown up there, who were stationed there. So I've learned a lot about it through that way. However, I have one particular friend who kind of educated me on the fact that there is a difference between Hawaii residents and Native Hawaiians. And no idea what she meant by this at first. So she went on to tell me that just because you lived in Hawaii or from Hawaii doesn't make you like a Native Hawaiian. Whereas like I'm from California, so I would consider myself a Californian. If you're from Texas, you'd consider yourself a Texan. But as far as Hawaii, it's not the case. So I broke it down into all the sections we were supposed to. As far as like their background with their beliefs and values, I really focused on those things because I think it really speaks to who they are as a culture. And before I get started, it was actually kind of difficult to find some articles and some real facts about it. My friend's name is Kui, which is short for her real name, so I can't pronounce it. She was the one who kind of guided me on where to look, what to look for, because a lot of things that I found were really just based upon like attractions you can do in Hawaii and like the different performances you can find, and they really talk about the culture that way, which is great, but I was looking for, like facts and articles, so I got lucky. She helped me out too. So getting started, I wanted to first talk about their core values and beliefs. So a big part of their culture would be their cores and values. And really, the blanket of that would be the aloha spirit, as they call it. Now, when you hear the word aloha, you think of hello, goodbye, everything you've seen in the movies. You think of it as just like a single phrase, aloha. It can mean love, compassion, kindness. But to Native Hawaiians, it's never just aloha. It's an aloha spirit. It's the way that they carry themselves. It's the way that they share their beliefs with the world. So digging deeper from just this blanket of the aloha spirit, you have to break it down into what makes up the aloha spirit. So the main core value of the Native Hawaiian culture is relationships. And I know it's so simple, but that's really what they base it all on. It's the core value is just relationships. And by relationships, I don't mean, well, it could mean your immediate family, but mostly it means like your community, the land, the spiritual world, past and present, that makes up this Oana. And Hoana, meaning family to them, it's bigger than just blood relatives. In Western culture, we think of family, I think of my family, you think of your family. It's an immediate family, and that is completely alien to the indigenous Hawaiians. Something that I found really interesting in my research is that the Hawaiians really encourage their children to make really big decisions with their community, because whatever is going to affect you will affect the community. It's like whatever is best for the community is best for you. So they really encourage that making big life decisions should not be an individualistic thing. They really are a part of a collectivist society. So because their beliefs are built upon this foundation of Hawana, a family, the Hawaiian culture ensues the health of the community as a whole. You know, it's important for the community versus just yourself. It's a very collective society. And what binds Awana together is not just like the present and us and what's going on in the community now. What they believe is even once you pass, you have a job to do in that realm. And it's all for the good of the community, past, present, future, that you still have works to do in the afterlife. So the majority of my research came from the HawaiianHistory.org website. It was kind of difficult to find one article that covered everything from their beliefs and values to their food. So for their food, I went with the Hawaii magazine, is what it's called, and it gives like a number of different traditional Hawaiian foods. But the big ones that are a part of the native Hawaiian culture would be pork, spam, pineapple, and coconut. So the next portion of my video will be about the stereotypes that a lot of Hawaiians deal with or faced against. You know, some sound more positive than others. So I'm going to focus on three main myths. On everyday feminism is where I found this article dated back in 2015, written by Amy Sun, and it's titled "3 Myths About the Native Hawaiians You Ought to Know Before Visiting Paradise." So I really like this article because it does focus on the native Hawaiian aspect, not just about Hawaii as a whole. So the first one is native Hawaiians are Asian. I know it sounds silly and untrue when you put it like that, but yes, this myth is actually a popular one. Like I said, I have a bunch of friends who used to live there. Some Japanese, some Chinese, a lot of Filipinos, and those are Asian cultures. They're not Hawaiian. They're not the Hawaiian culture. So therefore, by placing the native Hawaiians in the Asian category, we systematically erase native Hawaiian culture. Their identity, and most importantly, like what the what the native Hawaiians need. We're erasing them basically completely. So when Asians are supposedly successful and don't need assistance, you know, people might think that Hawaiians don't need this assistance, but they really do because they are a dying culture at this time. So before I tell you what the next stereotype is, really think about like what you know about Native Hawaiians. Do you know anything? I mean, what are some mental pictures that you think of when you think of Hawaiians? Like, I always thought of like grass skirts and ukuleles and lounging on the beach, leis, yeah, a lot of leis. You know, however, this stereotype, you know, Native Hawaiians, you know, live in grass huts and have no worries, is actually pretty sad because about 1/3 of the Hawaiian homeless population are Native Hawaiians, and that's as of today. So a hut sounds pretty good to them right now. No big deal until you consider that the Native population is about 10% of the whole Hawaii population. So literally, if you are of Native Hawaiian descent, you're more likely to be homeless than any other culture in Hawaii. And you're Hawaiian. So it's pretty eye-opening. The next part of this project was to dig deeper into Native Hawaiians and their cultural background as far as their healthcare system. I found a great article on the Star Advisor website titled "Native Hawaiians Suffer from Poor Overall Health, Largely Federal Study Shows." So this study and article was written in 2017. and it really breaks down some of the diseases that the Native Hawaiians suffer from, and really why they suffer from those diseases. Some of those diseases are obesity, diabetes, and asthma. So in this article, it states that 1 in 4 Native Hawaiian children and adults have an asthma problem, making it twice as common than any other Americans. They put this blame on the higher smoking rates. Because such a large percentage of the Native Hawaiian population is in poverty, I really think this has to do with the fact that a lot of them don't have access to special drugs for asthma. Now, after talking to my friend about this topic, she did mention to me that when she was growing up, healthcare was kind of a joke to them. The big city building is what they called it. Really didn't mean much to them. And she believes that this is a way of them selling to their kids that, oh, we don't go to the doctor because it's an imbalance in your life. Something's wrong with your aloha spirit. You need to come to peace with something. That's why you're sick. That's why you're feeling ill. So the person that I interviewed for this project, her name is Kui. Her island name is Kuapo. I think that's how you say it. She is a mother of 2. She has lived here in Las Vegas for, I think, like a little over 10 years. I think she's 30 years old, and she works in high-end retail at Caesar's Palace. After picking her brain and asking her a lot of questions first to help me start my research, we talked about the different stereotypes, which she agreed with. She also shared with me on the healthcare side of things some interesting facts that I didn't know about. Kui grew up on a farm, and she lived a farm life. She said they used outhouses and played in the jungle, and it was a very indigenous lifestyle. She said that they homeschooled, but for the most part only spoke Hawaiian until she was the age of 10. When it came to healthcare, she said that they always kind of thought of it as a joke, that it was sold to her or taught to her that if you were sick, if you had a cold, if you felt nauseous or anything like that, it was because you had an imbalance in your life. There was something wrong with your aloha spirit. So imagine how confusing this must be as a kid, like, oh, you have a belly ache, honey? Okay, well, you have an imbalance. What's going on? Did you lie about something? She said she used to be accused of lying all the time, of hiding something, and not being honest with herself. So I thought that was really interesting, that even though you're sick or hurting, in their culture, it's all about like a mental balance that you have to have. So the last part of this video is my opinion and what I think that as a healthcare provider I can do, or we can do, to improve the experience of the Native Hawaiian culture. And it's kind of difficult because when you're not a part of that culture, it's hard to determine what's best for them when you're not a part of it. So really what I think it comes down to is that this 3% of land is bogus. If there's more land, then there's less of a waiting list. There's less of a waiting list, and there's less Native Hawaiians who are suffering in poverty, homelessness, not getting the health care that they need. And I think some of the responsibility has to be put in these future generations within the Native Hawaiian culture. My friend said it herself. We can sit and talk about everything, how it used to be, but really, she's the one taking responsibility for her grandmother's health, for her mother's health, her father's health, her aunts, her uncles, her whole community back home. Every time she goes back, she educates them. She takes the time to share with them, the truth about healthcare. I have a newfound respect for the Native Hawaiian culture. I myself have a lot of Native American in me, and with learning everything about my culture and my history and my ancestry, and where they are today, I can definitely understand the struggle that, Kui and Native Hawaiians face today.